Happy New Year, everybody. It's 2026. Can you really believe it? The time has passed so quickly. And I really wanted to come on today to share some of my takeaways from 2025. So as a physician that's been working now for 25, going on 26 years, every year there's always new things. Some of them are old, but some of them are new that come into play that I feel really have a role to play in your healthcare. So I wanted to share my top 10 with you. And you can take a moment to think about, do any of these resonate with you? Maybe things that have gone well for you this year, or you might hear a few points that you actually might want to start working on into 2026. But for me in 2025, these were a lot of the big things that came up with my patients that I really feel that need to be addressed. So number one is the nervous system and getting it regulated. We know that the body heals when it feels safe. So when our body is feeling safe, we know that hormones are regulated, that the stress levels are coming down. So we have to begin to think about the nervous system. Many times in medicine, we're looking at Band-Aid treatments. So we treat high blood pressure, we treat heart disease, we even treat diabetes, we treat stress with medications. But if we actually looked at treating the nervous system on a very basic level, how we can feel safe, then the body is able to self-regulate. So consider that in your life. Number two, this is an old one that keeps coming back again, but it's sleep and circadian rhythm. If you don't sleep well, you are going to get sick. It really is just that simple. You know, sleep is the fundamental part of our day. It's when our body goes through its daily detox. So when we go to sleep at night, we have a system called the glymphatics. So with the glymphatics, it's the lymph flow that goes within our nervous system. And so this is a cerebrospinal fluid that basically has a little circulation every night. It's like our nightly oil change. And if that gets impaired, then we're not going to clear toxins, and then this can have a long-term role on our health, both within our metabolism and our energy, but also within our brain and our cognitive health, the way that we're able to think, the way that we're able to function. And this is why that we see higher incidence of dementia in people that have had chronic sleep disorders. I just want to point out, yes, thank you, Katie, talking about the nervous system regulation, that somatic healing is so important. And if you've never heard of somatic healing, please go and check that out because it's definitely a way to regulate your nervous system. So number three, blood sugar regulation and metabolic stability. So we know that blood sugar and blood insulin levels are really the markers and drivers of a lot of problems that can go on in our body. And in healthcare, you know, we measure blood sugar. We measure a level called hemoglobin A1C, which is a reflection of whether you're a diabetic or not. But we can actually see changes even before prediabetes kicks in. And we can actually see conditions called insulin resistance. Because if your body is not in a state of getting the proper amount of fuel, we can run into issues. So think about it. If you're having issues with pain, inflammation, rashes on your skin, memory issues, anxiety, then you really want to explore your blood sugar. So I measure a blood insulin level on my patients, but if you can't get that done, then I would go out, spend $100, get a blood sugar monitor called a Freestyle Libra, put it on the back of your arm, wear it for 2 weeks, and see what your blood sugar is doing over a 2-week time period. Generally, the sugar shouldn't rise too much above the kind of 7 or 8 mark on a regular basis. And your fasting sugar should basically be at 4. So if you're not having that, then you probably have some issues with your blood sugar and your metabolism. So my fourth thing for last year, it was hormonal transitions. So I haven't labeled this menopause or perimenopause, but I really think that 2025 was an amazing year that allowed us to bring up hormones in the general conversation. So we know now that there was a huge conference that was released at the Senate in the US at the FDA talking about the safety of especially things like vaginal estrogen, and the black label warnings were taken off many of these products. And we know now that estrogen and progesterone can be safe for many women to take. Estradiol and micronized progesterone, those are the ones that have been safe. Also, we know that testosterone is being used in women And also, it is safe and acceptable by all of the guidelines to be used for women for certain indications. But basically, I want to bring up hormones in the fact that I'm so glad that we're recognizing the transition that women go through. Because what we need to do is realize that we want to support this change in our life and not try to fight against it. And hormones may not be the right or needed treatment for every woman as she's going through the transition, but it can be part of a discussion, but also a part of honoring our body as we go through that time. Because, a 50-year-old body is not the same as a 20-year-old body. And that's okay. This is what happens. We get wiser, the body changes, but this is the wisdom that comes when we age. So my number 5 for 2025 is gut health and digestion. So gut health truly is a reflection of our nervous system. And one of my biggest things I guess I've seen in this past year is the amount of digestive issues people have, in particular constipation, which is the slowing down of the bowels. And when we look at this condition, what many people don't consider is that why do the bowels slow down? The bowels slow because the nervous system is not responding appropriately. So the nervous system has slowed down. So almost always when I see individuals that have bowel issues, we know that there's some nervous system issue behind that as well. It can be stress, it can be anxiety, but we want to work on getting the nervous system regulated so that it can allow the bowels to work appropriately. And of course, there's things that come in here like the microbiome. These are all the bugs that live in us, trillions, of bacteria, fungi, and yeast. And when they get out of balance, then they're going to play a role to influence our gut, but they can actually have another role that can play on our nervous system. So think about that. What is your gut health and digestion like? If you're not having 1 to 2 soft BMs a day, then you may want to consider that there's something that's out of balance there, and you want to get at it before it has a greater impact on your body throughout your life. So my number 6 takeaway for 2025 was we need to reduce inflammation. So what is inflammation in the body? It can be pain, it can be soreness, it can be puffiness, but we also want to do this slowly. Okay, and we want to reduce the load and the burden of inflammation, not just treat the symptoms. So once again, often I see women coming in, they're on anti-inflammatories because they have joint pains, or some women are taking fluid pills because they have swelling in their legs. Both of those medications are not always needed if we get to the root source of the inflammation. So there's many things that can impact inflammation, the gut, the stress, the hormones, all of it, right? But we need to start saying, okay, if there's inflammation in the body, let's approach it very gently, but let's make a stepwise approach to making sure that we are dealing with it and that we're not band-aiding the symptoms. Because as we grow older, one of the greatest conditions that we have is something called inflammaging. Okay, so inflammation, aging. And the way we're seeing this the most, it can be in your skin with wrinkles and lots of changes, muscle tone. But the biggest concern with inflammaging is dementia and cognitive decline. We don't want to get in our older years and have our memory start to go. We want to be functioning in our 70s, 80s, and 90s with very clear mind and very clear abilities. So this is one of the reasons that addressing inflammation is very important. So my number 7 of my top 10 would be strength and muscle movement. So, when we're younger, we think that maybe muscle training is to look good, to look sexy, right? Or that we want to look good in a bikini, or if you're a man, you want to have, the big biceps when you're going to the gym. I think as we get a little bit older, we realize that muscle training is more about supporting the body. Because as we age, we want to protect our body. We don't want to be at risk of falls. We want to feel strong. We want to be able to carry groceries. We want to be able to lift a kayak. We want to be able to carry our grandkids around or to play or wrestle around with them as needed. So this is where muscle strength comes in. But movement as well. And, when I bring this up, many people think that you have to go to the gym. This is not needed. But we do know that moving the body on a regular basis is one of the greatest free things that we can do for our health. Now, this time of the year, I like to get out snowshoeing. I'm going to be starting my cross-country skiing next week. I do have a treadmill that I just got downstairs. So I like to keep moving during the day. Even though I work kind of at my desk, I like to take little breaks where I'm moving around. I know a lot of you don't like the cold, so maybe it would be worthwhile for you to get something like a treadmill. Or maybe it is time to go to the gym or go to a walking track. But keeping moving is so important for our health. So it keeps our muscle tone, it keeps our balance and our mobility, but also it's very good when it comes back to the fascia and this nervous system regulation, because as we move, we're clearing things through the body. Okay, so think about that. How are you doing now with your strength and your movement? Is this something that maybe you want to work on in 2026? So number 8 of my top 10, emotional health and your mindset. The awareness of our thoughts can change our biology. What does this mean? When we become more aware of what we are thinking, we actually have the ability to control the change of the chemicals that are within our body. If I think happy thoughts, I can actually turn my nervous system into a state of calm and a state of healing. If my mind is always thinking about what's going to happen, I'm worrying about tomorrow, I'm going back and I'm feeling guilty, or I'm like, this is what happened to me in the past and I'm kind of in victim mode. Well, guess what? Those negative thoughts that we keep thinking are going to create negative chemicals in our blood. They're going to raise cortisol, and we can make ourselves sick with our thoughts. But what if with your thoughts, you can make yourself healthy and you can change your own biology? So think about that a little bit. Does it apply to you? Are there things that you can do to change the mindset within your head? Many of us think that the way that we think is just a program. Well, yes, it is a program, but a program can be changed, right? If you've got the iPhone, every so often we come out with a new operating system, right? We can do the same within ourselves, but it takes our conscious intention. And this takes me into point number 9, that when we have intention and purpose, once again, we can go from awareness to creation. So for example, again, if you are someone that ruminates and thinks about the past all the time, and maybe today is the day, it's January, you say, I'm going to change my life from this day moving forward. And if you make that intention that that's what you're going to do, and if you say, when I get up tomorrow, I'm going to talk to myself in a positive manner. If negative thoughts come, I'm going to recognize them. I'm going to say thank you, but I choose to have a positive thought. And it literally can be this process that can help to reset our neurons. We can change our brain, we can change our thought patterns, and this can change our biology. We can truly change our way of life by becoming more aware of those thoughts and having the intention that we want to change it toward the positive. And my last one for 2025. What is the thing that I wanted to bring up, despite my cold and all? But my biggest takeaway, and maybe this was because I did get sick over Christmas and had to stay home alone, but it's the power of connection and community. So we heal better together. And, there's so many drugs in the world. There's so many supplements. There's walking, there's fitness, there's getting your gut health regulated and everything. But there's nothing like the power of community and connection. So we know, and it's been studied worldwide and globally, the oldest people in the world, if you look at the blue zones, there's a lot of things that happen and some things that can contribute, but one of the greatest things overall is the ability to connect with others and feel that you're a part of something. It helps to give more purpose within your life when you're a part of a greater community. We are not meant to be solitary on our own. We're all in this together. We really are. And when we're together with others, we begin to heal more. And that's because the impact of what goes on with you is reflected in me. And it's like we're living together in this giant interrelated web. And, there's that golden rule, which I think survives through so many cultures, through so many religions. And the golden rule is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And also this adage that what goes around comes around. But all of this means that what we give out comes back to us. And that when we get with others and when we start to connect with other individuals, we start to share a little bit of the love, a little bit of the kindness. And I'm beginning to see this more and more in my groups. So most of you know I run a group on Tuesday night, the Wise Women Circle, and I just started our Wise Women Ascends program. And already we're beginning to see the benefits that happen when we get women together talking, and the power that comes from knowing that you're not alone, and the energy that we feel, the love that actually can be just within a group. So consider how that's going for you, how it went in 2025, and think about in 2026, what are your circles of connection that you have? Most of us have a small family connection, and we don't need a super wide circle, but it can be the power of that connection that we have. And if you're thinking, maybe I want to change things up a little bit, then sometimes widening that circle can be good. Or if you're thinking maybe there is a part of my health or just a part of me that I want to work on a little bit more, there's so many different ways to connect to others, right? So you can join a club. You can, again, join the ski club, get out snowshoeing. You can start going to a yoga class. Maybe the gym is for you. We've got painting classes. There's all kinds of things in Miramichi to be able to join. Maybe church is something that you like to do, just to connect with others. Pickleball. I think there's a lot of pickleball people out there that seem to love it for this camaraderie. We've got the curling rink. Like there's so many things. I've got my Tuesday group, which is here to support you. And actually on the Tuesday group this year, we're really going to be working on the fundamentals of health. And we're going to be doing an eight pillar approach over the upcoming 12 months, where we're going to work on 8 different aspects of health. I'm going to be bringing in lots of guest speakers. We're going to just have a really fun time. But that fundamental of connection, because in our societies, even though we're all connected on our devices, I think many of us are losing connection because we don't get to meet very often. So that's what I'm trying to do to facilitate. This is the healthcare that I believe is going to be the healthcare of the future. And this is when we get together, when you learn to recognize what's going on in your own body, your own system, and get together with others in a group that you can uplift each other together. Because this is the secret sauce of medicine that no pill is ever going to be able to package, that no AI, even if you have a good chat GPT, no AI is ever still going to give you that sense of connection that's going to come with being around other humans. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'll have the summary here in the chat for you all, but please tell me what is your biggest takeaway from my top 10, and please share this with family and friends. I'd love to hear a little bit more about what are your biggest takeaways. And have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye for now. See you next time.